Hi, everybody. Jim Ostrowski back with the Liberty Moving podcast. Buffalo Bills game on, but it kind of sucks. Josh Allen played one play. The game doesn't mean a damn thing. So I figured, let's go out and bang it. So something different today. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I haven't really had a bomb podcast in a while. So we'll see. Hopefully this will turn out fine. If not, it'll go on the cutting room floor. I've never actually killed a podcast, a full length one, but we'll see. So I'll talk about something a little different today. I want to reach out to young libertarians. So if you're not young, you can't watch. And if you're not a libertarian, you can't watch. Just kidding. So I've been at this for 44 years. And you have to understand, I came from the Democratic Party. And obviously the Democratic Party is one of the two big parties. And so I came from a big party mindset. And when I joined the Libertarian Party, like 79, 80, long time ago, I had this attitude like, hey, our job is to go out and kick ass and win. And in the early days of the party, it seemed like there was a lot of momentum. The party had really just been founded in 1971, so I'm getting in pretty much in on the ground floor. 72, the candidate was only on the ballot a couple states. 76, the candidate was on the ballot 30 states or so. And 1980, we're on the ballot in every state, and a lot of, a professionally run campaign, a good candidate, a lawyer for an oil company, not really related to his politics, but just showed he was a successful corporate lawyer. And the vice presidential candidate was David Koch, who was a successful businessman, obviously. Granted, his father started the company, but you can't blame somebody for who their father is. He was running one of the largest private companies in America, along with his brother Charles. And so it seemed like we were on the upswing. We got 1 million votes. Yeah, we wanted to get more. But it seemed like, the world was our oyster. But then there was a split in the party between the Cato faction and the Rothbard faction. I went with the Rothbard faction. And the next couple candidates didn't get 1 million votes. They got less than 1 million votes. And I pointed out that our two best candidates ever in the history of the party, Ron Paul and Harry Brown, they only got about 500,000 votes. I don't know the exact numbers. But it was very frustrating. There were lean years. And really, to skip ahead, it's 50 years later. I've been in 1988, obviously, it's now 45 years ago. We're talking 50 years, folks. And the party has not succeeded. I'm not saying there's been nothing accomplished. There's been some things accomplished. We broadened the base a little bit. There's been a lot of good scholarly work. I think there's more small L libertarians out there. But what we don't have is success on the battlefield. We don't have wins politically or in policy. Government's gotten bigger. So I don't know about you, but I'm 67. I'm not getting any younger. And I'm just, frankly, I'm sick of losing. I'm sick of losing, and I'm sick of being in a movement that is complacent. There's too many, I think that's the word of the day. There's too many people in our movement, and I'm not just talking about the Libertarian Party. I'm talking about the liberty movement entirely. There's good people in it, people working hard, doing their best. But there's not this sense of urgency. Sorry, there's not a sense of urgency that I've always had. I've always had a sense of urgency, even through 44 years, and I don't see that. Now, I spoke to one of my recent projects. If you follow the podcast, you know. If you don't follow the podcast, you wouldn't know, which is fine. Most people don't follow the podcast. My recent project is to contact all 52 Libertarian Party organizations and try to convince them, seemingly counterintuitive, I grant, but really not at all counterintuitive, that after 50 years of trying politics and trying very hard at electoral politics, and realizing that it's not succeeding, it's not moving us in the direction that we want to go in, to change strategies to direct action. I'm not saying don't run candidates anymore. I'm saying let's divert resources, just as you would on a battlefield. It's a Civil War battlefield. The right flank is weak. We got to shift troops from the middle to the right flank, and so on, as a military strategist would do. We need to shift strategies in a drastic direction in favor of direct citizen action. And I have about 12 different kinds, and there's more kinds that can be invented, but we're talking about voting for the uninitiated. We're talking about voting with your feet, pulling your kids out of government school, voting with your money, voting with your health, and things of that nature. Because politics is not to work. So I did speak to a Libertarian Party group recently, and the resistance of the old guard was patent. It's like, I don't think you need to, insult us or whatever. And it's like, I made it clear in my remarks that I had been trying the political route longer than most of the people in that group, because I'm just older. And I wasn't trying to offend anybody, whatever, but the reaction was among some of the old guard. The younger people, I think, were more receptive. But the reaction to some of the old guard was, we got to keep doing what we're doing because, we've been doing it a long time. And if I say we were wrong, it's like it's an assault on my ego. So I like to quote Emerson, and is very perceptive on this point. A foolish consistency is the hobgoblin of little minds. But let's be honest. Everybody has an ego, and nobody wants to admit they were wrong. Well, I'm perfectly willing to admit I was wrong. I spent, 30 years. I calculated it on one of the podcasts because I wrote Direct Citizen Action in 2011. I wrote a prior book which talked about direct citizen action in 2010. So from 1974 through 2010, I was doing politics very seriously. So there's nothing wrong with admitting that what you were doing did not work. But people are very resistant to it. Some people have a vested interest in the old ways, the ways of failure. Some people want to be a big fish in a little pond. I remember the Howard Stern sidekick, Baba Booey, whatever his name was. He was mocking us out one day, and he said something about, I don't want to break up your little chess club. Well, I wish he hadn't broken up our little chess club. I did a whole podcast on that, but I take the point. I take his point that these people had a nice little comfortable setup. They were the chairman of some podunk county in New York, and you're threatening my. I have an ego investment in this stupid fucking title. I was chairman of a non-Podunk county. I was chairman of the Erie County Libertarians. It's like the 5th largest county in the state twice. It's like, so fucking what? It doesn't mean anything. So there's a lot of resistance to what I'm trying to do. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to take the greatest political idea in human history, liberty, the only idea in human history politically that's ever worked. I challenge anybody to come up with any other idea in politics that's ever worked. Justice, equality. Equality has led to the murder of hundreds of millions of people, communism, French Revolution. They freaking took a barge and they drowned prisoners for the pursuit of equality. Equality doesn't work. The government's not capable of producing justice. I'm a lawyer for 40 years. I'm writing a book about it. Believe me. Justice is not the ideal that has produced anything good for the human race. The only idea that's ever produced anything good for the human race is liberty. After eons of the Dark Ages, where violence and brutality ruled the day outside of small family tribal groups, once you get into a large group, it was just whoever had the strongest, the most spears, the most swords, the most bloodshed, ruled the day. And then the libertarians came along in 1650. We know with a lot of precision, thanks to Rothbard and other scholars, when the first sort of cohesive, coherent libertarian doctrine was hammered out. It was in England, the Levelers in 1650. And by 1776, just about 100 years later, the first, imperfect, granted, but the first basically libertarian country ever was founded, the United States of America in 1776. And again, with a lot of imperfections, because you can't clean up 50,000 awful years of human history with just a couple of like manifestos. There's a lot of work that needed to be done. But God, look at the progress. Don't look at what wasn't done, which is a lot of people snipe at libertarians. And you didn't do this, and you didn't that. Well, look at what we did do. We took humanity out of the fucking Dark Ages and created the fucking modern world. Everything good about the modern world politically came from the libertarians. And we did this from 1650 through 1913. We get no credit for it. I wrote a book called Progressivism, a Primer. I explained it all. For the first time that I'm aware of, the accomplishments of the historical libertarian movement were actually explained and delineated and boasted about. And this is our movement that unfortunately we got replaced in 1913. We got replaced by progressivism, and we got replaced by Bolshevism, and eventually by Nazism in the 1930s in Germany. And we got conservatism, we got fascism, we got all these stupid ideologies that make no sense. They didn't replace us because they were correct or productive or made life better. They replaced us because they were more psychologically seductive, psychologically attractive. Progressivism is a form of therapy. They're all forms of psychotherapy. That's my grand theory of politics, which I've written about. I'll continue to write about it more. So the libertarian movement basically went extinct for quite some time. From the 1920s, basically, Knock got old and Mencken got old. Twain got old. Some of these people died. And we were like the cheetah. There was apparently an episode in the history of the cheetah. There are only a few cheetahs, and that's why they're a fragile population, because the genetic pool got reduced. They don't have a lot of genetic diversity, but there was a time when there were just a few cheetahs, and now they're doing better apparently. But with libertarians like that, there was a time from like the 20s to the 60s where there were like, the old joke, you could fit every libertarian in the world in Murray Rothbard's living room. And it was true. There were like 10, 15 people. And by the way, yes, I was in Murray Rothbard's living room once. But then the thing grew, and in the 60s and the 70s, that's what I'm talking about. The modern libertarian movement's been around for 50 years. And it was a magnificent accomplishment to put this thing back on track. But after 50 years of failure, both in the Libertarian Party and in the larger liberty movement, or libertarian movement, however you want to define it or call it or describe it, we're not winning, folks. And I've done everything I can. I've reached out to everybody. I'm so, and I'm not, you know, I don't want to come off as somebody who's griping or complaining, because, you know, nobody cares. Nobody wants to hear me griping or complaining. I'm not. I'm just saying I've done this, that, and the other thing that have not worked so far, and I want to do something else. I'm getting so little support from people, you know, in the higher up ranks of the liberty movement, however they are, and I don't want to call people out because it's not what I want to win. I don't want to call anybody out. Believe me, I could call everybody out and it would make me feel good, I guess, for about a day. It's not going to win. All I'm saying is the people who've been in the movement for some time in various positions, they're not getting the job done. God bless them. I'm certain they're all trying as hard as they can, but they're not getting the job done. And I just want to say, look, to you young libertarians out there, do you want to be me? Do you want to be me? When I was 21 and got into the movement, I thought we were going to win this thing in like 5-10 years. And here I am, I'm 67. Because of a failure of strategy, a failure of leadership, because of human foibles. And, you know, I like to say politics is like high school. It's like, you know, who you know, and there's cliques, and, oh, what are you going to do for me? And are you going to, turf wars? Look, folks, I fought the drug war for 5 years. And we had a meeting at the Four Seasons. I talked about this in the podcast. Believe me, I know what I said. I'm not forgetting that I've already talked about this, but some of these people have not seen that podcast. I had a meeting at the Four Seasons in 1990 with the Koch brothers faction and the Soros faction, because the Soros people wanted to end the drug war. And it was all about, oh, we can't let Ostrowski start an organization because we have our own organization, and our little egos are going to be hurt because Ostrowski's organization might outshine us. Can you believe that a destructive, evil policy such as the war on drugs, you can't have a free society when the government can break into your house and look in your medicine cabinet? The war on drugs causes massive crime that leads to the war on guns. The war on drugs disrupts third world producing countries and installs these repressive, corrupt kleptocracies there that are so bad that the people have to break into our country through Mexico. Can you believe this catastrophic policy, this idiotic policy, which, by the way, led to the groundwork for the federal control of drugs and medicine and COVID and the fucking lockdown? Jesus Christ. And can you believe that this policy, we could have ended this policy? Read my Cato report. Read my Hofstra Law Review article. Bill Buckley said, loved my stuff. I had it. I had the argument. But because of turf wars and because politics is like fucking high school, here we are 40 years later and the war on drugs is raging on. So frustrating, folks. So I guess my pitch is this. I don't know what the rest of the liberty movement is doing. They're not helping me out at all, except for very few people I could name on the fingers on, two hands. But my message to young libertarians is, you're not invested in these failures yet. You got into the movement. You're idealistic. You know we're fucking right. But you wonder, why aren't we winning? Why aren't we winning? We have the greatest political idea in human history, liberty. And we're not winning. And people, our leaders can't even articulate why libertarianism is great. And we're apologetic and we're defensive. And we're not attacking properly. You read my book on the Second Amendment, the two books. I do not play defense, folks. I don't take prisoners. I just demolish the other side, exposing the two big lies of the gun control movement. So what I'm saying is, if you guys want to win and you don't want to be just several more generations of failed libertarian activists when you're in your 50s and 60s and 70s, and the country has further gone downhill and declined, you have no idea how much this country's, you young people have no idea how much this country's declined since the 60s. You have no idea how much it's declined, because you weren't there. I was there. All I'm saying is, if my ideas and strategies are followed, we will win. We can win. We must win. And I've got the specific, concrete ideas. They're on my website, libertymovement.org. They're on the podcast, repeated 2-3 times a week. They're in my 13 books, 8 books on paper, 5 more on Kindle. They're all pretty much all on audio and Kindle. And I have specific programs right now. Yes, the opening to Trump, it's fine. I support it. I'm writing a book, Libertarian Ideas for Trump to use in his administration. But the most important thing, because I don't think we can rely on that, there's so many reasons why the libertarian opening to Trump might not be successful. I hope it is. I don't know. I'm trying the best I can. Not getting a lot of support, in all honesty. But what we really need to do is direct citizen action. And I confess, I have not been able to get the support or the wherewithal, the finances, or the troops to do it. But then I thought, you know what? I don't know why I didn't think of this sooner. There is an organization with the troops and the money, because it doesn't take a lot of money to do a direct action program and change the entire nature of politics in this country. And that is the Libertarian Party. So, young libertarians, if you want to win, if you don't want to be 67 years old in the future saying, why did we keep doing a strategy, third-party electoral politics that doesn't work, or whatever else the other aspects of the liberty movement are doing that are not working, this will work. And so I'm asking for young libertarians to support what I'm doing. If you're in the Libertarian Party, I've only been contacted by 3 of 52 libertarian organizations. Contact the other 49. Ask them, have you inviting Ostrowski in? Let's have a program. Let's have a debate. Let's talk about these ideas. If you're not in the Libertarian Party, join up and ask them. Said, I understand that Jim Ostrowski is proposing a radical shift in strategy for the movement and the party. Please support that. So that's pretty much all I have to say. I think I've said enough. I'm urging young libertarians, you're not invested in failure. You guys want to win. You have a long life ahead of you. I don't. I have my children's long life ahead of me, and hopefully their grandchildren, if they have grandchildren in the future. But you guys have your life ahead of you. Do you want to win, or do you want to continue losing? You want to be a good loser? I don't. I hate losing. I fucking hate losing. So that's my pitch. The rest is up to you. Thanks a lot for hearing me out, everybody. I know I went on a bit of a rant today, but hey, Dennis Miller made a career out of it.